Welcome back to another awesome video.
I like old technology and keeping it working, but not everybody does. When a lot of people remodel their kitchen, they rip out the old 80s Intercom base station, but they leave behind these. These are Intercom speakers, and this, like for example, the house we just moved into has a lot of these, and they're just dead speakers on the walls of the bedrooms. And today we're going to look at 3 project ideas for these old Intercom stations. There are a ton of very clever people out on the internet doing all sorts of things with adapters and 3D printing, but what I'm looking for are things that are relatively inexpensive and require very little amount of time to accomplish. So let's look at a couple of these ideas.
Number 1, access point mount.
So the Ubiquity access point with the included hardware, you can just put one screw in and it'll hold it up. It's not perfect, but it'll hold it up reasonably well. It doesn't cover it completely, but just for a quick fix, it works. And I've also left extra slack in there, so if I do decide to not put the Wi-Fi access point here, I just take that off, cover that up, and convert this to a standard network jack on the wall below.
Number 2, tablet wall mount.
So the way it works, you pull the tablet off, take it with you. You got wall. We probably might paint this. I need to touch up the wall and erase that little pencil mark there. And then when you're ready to charge, you just slap it back up on the wall. Got to get it just right, and then it'll charge within that pencil mark. This is a recent edition Kindle Fire, which does not support wireless charging, but we've got something called a Magic Tag, which is just a wireless charging receiver with a USB-C port on the end, and we can stick it on the back of this Kindle, and then we should be able to charge it with this Anchor wireless charger. The first way I thought to cover this hole and put something else in it was to use a standard sort of 3-gang blank wall switch place, and that would probably work. The only drawback is you'd still have to do some sheetrock patching to cover half the hole. Another problem with this thing is these intercoms have these metal brackets, and the metal brackets are nailed behind the sheetrock. So it was nailed in, then the sheetrock was put on. So there's no real easy way to remove those. So the problem is, if you were to use one of these things, you'd have to position it low enough to cover up the side of the hole, then high enough so that the screws go in, that would have to get above this metal bracket. So instead of the 3-gang wall plate, we found this. This is an access panel, and it's available at Home Depot, and it only costs $12. It has a bunch of advantages. First of all, this is like a 6x9, so it will completely cover this hole. I don't have to do any sheetrock patching. I will have to cut it a little bit wider. So it also has the benefit of going from portrait to landscape, and it has metal tabs that should bend around the sheetrock or this bracket or whatever, should hold it in there. So all I need to do is widen the hole a little bit and snap that in there. Well, that's gone. So the final topic to figure out in this project is power. And you could just very easily run a USB extension down the wall and then just put a little plate or just plug it into a nearby outlet. And let me first say before continuing, I'm not an electrician. Just issue a disclaimer, consider this video for entertainment purposes only. On the opposite wall, there's a wall switch with power. Let's see if I can zoom in, sure it's visible. Yeah, so that yellow box is a wall switch. So what I'm gonna attempt to do is tap into it using this little outlet and Wago connectors and just try to mount the outlet in there so that the USB charger and everything will just be plugged in behind the wall. And of course I could still pop the access panel out and get to it. So I hacksawed off the back of this electrical box just to give it something to attach to. I've got that piece of wood in there. I'm just going to try to get that in there, run that to the other box, then I can plug in my thing, and this will at least be in a box. It'll have some amount of stability. It won't just be a loose outlet flopping around. I don't know that I would do this again because this is pretty messy back here with all these magnets. I might just use a couple spots of Velcro. Definitely this is more than enough to hold an 8-inch tablet, but it takes all these magnets to hold this 10-inch tablet. And you can't put magnets here because there's some sort of sensor inside the Kindle that turns off the display if you put a magnet there. But it probably would be nicer without, all that stuff on the back of your Kindle also. But the concept does work. So time will tell whether this is useful or not. As a on-the-wall tablet, alarm clock, whatever. I have to figure out the software. Just got this hung up. It definitely looks better than the old dead intercom. Should be more useful, and if nothing else, we can just put the tablet up here to charge. I will say that this 10-inch tablet is pretty heavy and required a lot of magnets to hang. I did try just taping a piece of metal onto our 8-inch tablet. It was a lot easier to get up there. Also, this is not centered because of the location of the charger. This charger is designed for phones, so it's down there. Rather than the center of the tablet. So, and I would also try if I had to do this over, pay more attention to the diameter of the charger, which is, the disc was about, I think, 95 centimeters. They do make smaller ones. But anyway, so that's that project.
Number 3, outdoor phone shelf with a charger.
These outdoor units are in a lot worse shape than the indoor ones because they got wood or brick around them. Now behind them there's a metal box mounted in the wall which you could attach something to. Unfortunately on the brick one it's kind of come completely loose. Originally we were going to do a shelf or a box, but there's not a lot of shelf space left by the time you add all that wood. So I'm going to do a 90-degree hinge, actually 2 of them, and then add a piece of wood to just be a flip down shelf. And then at the back, so that you're not seeing that silver fiber board, we're going to add something dark like this. This is a piece of roofing material we can kind of get in there. We weren't able to do anything with the existing intercom wiring. However, we did use the hole that it went through to get through that fiber board. And coincidentally, there was a coax connector down there that somebody had drilled into the wall for an old DirecTV installation. So there was a coax jack right next to an outlet. So we were able to actually put in a wire so you can charge your iPhone or Android phone or whatever on the shelf. So that should work out pretty good. So this one worked okay. This one, the brick started to split because I think there's not much there. So I'm going to use a toggle bolt, or at least try to get a toggle bolt through on this side and just use that. Hopefully that'll give this enough staying power. All right, try that. The brick anchors turned out to be a dead end because they kept popping out. So what I ended up doing was just building a box, just nailing side pieces to the top piece. I used a bracket with a bolt through it up behind this, screwed it in there with an offset screwdriver, so it's not going anywhere. It should be able to, well, mostly not going anywhere. It should be able to support the weight of the hinges and everything. So now I got to attach the hinges, which I probably should have done before I put that in there, but and again use the offset screwdriver and do that.
Go.
All right, there we go. Okay. All right, that's good. So that about wraps up the video, just with some fast and cheap project ideas for these old intercom stations. What was your favorite, of those 3, what was your favorite project?
The tablet one.
I think mine too. I think of the ones I would likely do again, that's probably the most likely I'd do again. The woodworking was kind of hard. I'm not a real woodworking expert. And the access point, you still have to patch those holes, but we're slowly transforming these old intercoms into something more useful. Anyway, we do have one intercom left on the back porch. It's got wood around it, and the metal box is there, and I can reach the wires above it. So I'm considering an outdoor amplifier, maybe a Gorilla amp and some speakers, but that's about it. If you have any ideas for these projects or what we could do with that last intercom, leave a comment. We'll see you next time.
See you next time for another awesome video.